Hello, I'm Peggy Jo Stanley, and I would like to explain about my flipped life science classroom. What is a flipped classroom? Basically, a flipped classroom is, the flipping part is taking traditional understanding of what classwork and homework is, and you're flipping those. So the homework becomes watching lectures, vodcasts, on a computer or mobile device, and you take notes. And then the classwork is doing learning activities and practicing the skills with the teacher's guidance. So it's basically what you used to do is at home, you do at school. What you used to do at school, you do at home. And it's flipping. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, there's some very good reasons why I chose this. It moves traditional homework into the classroom where the teacher can help individuals or groups. When I'm lecturing and have to spend most of the time in class lecturing, I do not get much individual attention or be able to give much individual attention to the students. But this will free me up to do so. Has more time inside of the classroom for learning-based activities. Again, that's because all the lecture time is not eating up all the class time. So I'll be able to do more hands-on and learning kinds of activities, and more times for labs as well, since I'm a science class. It extends the learning time because the classroom now, I have the whole classroom as a learning time. Has the delivery of the lecture content placed online for the students to use outside of class. And there are some benefits to having the lectures online, the vodcasts. The benefits of the lecture online are the students may work at their own pace, and that's hard to do when a teacher is lecturing in class. With a vodcast, a student can stop the vodcast, they can rewind it, they can rewatch it as many times as they need to. If they know some of the content material, they don't have to sit there like in a class and just listen to all of it. They can fast forward that part and go to the part that they do not know. And another big benefit is students do not miss out on notes if they're absent, because the notes are a vodcast online. The devices that will be used in my classroom are the tablets, such as the iPad and the other tablets. I'm familiar with the iPad and the apps and so forth for that. So that's basically what I use in the class. The other tablets are fine. I just won't know as much how to help a person with them. Laptops, great as well. But what we don't want are iPods and iPhones, smartphones. Those things will not be allowed. With the iPads, one thing that comes up is that there's a lot of websites and even our ebook that we use that requires Flash. And if you know about an iPad, their browser, which is called Safari, it does not support Flash. And so in order to use these different things that these different websites and things that I'll be using online, you need to have some kind of browser that will support Flash. And so on an iPad, you need to get an app for that. And there is an app for that. The one that I'm familiar with that I have purchased and used is Photon, and it works very well. And if you look at another one is iSwifter. I have that as well. Photon is what I like to use the best. There are others out there, especially now since I've purchased them. When I purchased them, they're about $5. And the iSwifter will only work with a Wi-Fi connection. Now that's fine in class because we will have Wi-Fi, although sometimes it does go down. But most of the time we have Wi-Fi. And with the Photon, which I like, it works with that Wi-Fi access, but it also works when you have to use, if you have 3G, which I have both on mine, 3G and Wi-Fi. Assessments that I'll be using in this flipped classroom are, with the book, there are what are called lesson outlines. On the day of a test, it's usually after they take the test, they work on the lesson outline for the next lesson that we will be going over. If they do not finish in class, then it is for homework. But if they finish in class, then that's fine. And in class, then we will grade those as well the next day. And that will count as an assessment. And so that's an easy way of adding points, because I grade on a point system, and building up points. We also will have labs and mini labs. Bigger labs will be worth more points than a mini lab. We will have projects, and sometimes they will be individual, but most of the time they'll be group projects. And one thing I want to say about labs and about projects, a student never has to turn in that lab or that project together to get a group grade. They always have the option of doing it independently rather than in a group, because if they get with members, that won't work. Quizzes. Now with quizzes, in the first chapter, I'm going to use that as a teaching tool. I'll actually be lecturing some in class to show them how to watch the lecture, how to take my lecture, and take notes from it. And then how to use those notes to study for quizzes. So I'll be taking the first chapter and taking more time in it to do that. And so you'll still have the option of watching the vodcast at home, but that's just as a repeat. And then on the first chapter, I make everybody take the quizzes, because you need to get used to taking a quiz. And quizzes later on, probably beginning in the second chapter, can be optional. In other words, if your student would learn better by doing a project rather than taking a quiz, then they will have that opportunity. They can make that decision. But they have to know the material for the test, because tests are not optional. They must take a test. And with the tests I also give the option of retaking them so that they can master the information. And in my class, it's not just rote memory. We don't just want students memorizing and spitting out facts. That's not the important thing. Are there things to memorize? Sure. There's lots of definitions in science that they have to have and know. But they have to have an understanding. They have to be able to analyze. They have to be able to put that knowledge into practice and use it as an application. So I have a lot of application questions, and also some of the projects that we'll be doing and some of the things in class will be applying that knowledge. And so it's not just rote memory and, spit out the answers, because that doesn't show what you learn. Now, how can you help? Well, one thing you can do is especially go to my web page. There's lots of helps and so forth, but go to the homework page and make sure that your child is listening to the vodcast and taking notes and writing down questions as they are watching the vodcast, and having that done the day before it is due. That's an important thing, because if they come to class without that done, then they will not be able to participate in the activities dealing with that. They will have to sit in a desk and actually listen to the vodcast and take notes then. So they'll be missing the hands-on stuff. So it's very important that they get that done. And one of the drawbacks is with having the lectures online, you don't have immediate access to a teacher to ask a question. So it's vital when they're watching the vodcast, if they have any questions, to write those down, because I will address them then the next day. And another way to tell that your student is understanding rather than just reading a bunch of facts and not understanding anything is to ask them, all right, summarize, tell me what that vodcast was about in your own words. You know, not looking at the notes and not just reading some definition. Have them explain, okay, what was it about? Another key thing in my class is your child should be studying some each night, not just cramming a night before a quiz or a test. For most students, we don't have photographed memories and it doesn't work. And you've got to be studying some each day. And make sure before the quiz day that your student, your child, has taken advantage of the study helps I have. Sometimes I have flashcards up there. Sometimes I have study where you can play games to review material. And a lot of times I have practice quizzes. So do those things and see how well they're retaining the information. In other words, let some time lapse from studying to going and taking a quiz online or doing the review. And vital is don't get zeros. Make sure all work is turned in the day it is due. Most things I do accept late, but there is a penalty, and that is 1 or 10% points off per day late. So after 10 days, it is a 0. And of course, if you're absent, we follow the absent guidelines that are in your student handbook, which means if you're absent 3 days, you have 3 days to make up the work. But if it's late, it's every day. Actually, every school day. I don't count Saturday and Sunday. So the key place to go to get some helps, also to watch the vodcasts, also to look at the PowerPoints, is my website, www.pjteaches.com. PJ is for Peggy Jo. And that's a wrap.